Hey, I'm in my room today and I'm on my squeaky ass bed, so please ignore that. So today, I want to talk to you about something that I think is I think it's essential. It's not even important, it's essential for everybody to know, okay? We're gonna talk about financial literacy and I'm gonna simplify it, very, very simple, so that basically anybody can understand it. So, these are things that I wish that somebody would have told me before moving out of my parents' house for the first time, before going to college, things that I think every college freshman or every person that is like 17 or older should know. Things that you're not taught in school. So let's get to it. Credit. Don't get into debt, okay? If you want to buy something big like a car, save like half of it and then make a good down payment and pay it off slowly. Credit is important to build in case you want to buy a house one day, which most people do, because you want to buy property, and that's so that you can get loans, because you need a large amount of money. You need loans to buy a house unless you have $40,000 lying around, 150,000, even a ton more depending on what area. Obviously you're not going to find a house for 40,000. It's just an example. But anyway, so credit is important in order for you to be trustworthy to a bank to get these loans in the future. So of course I'm thinking that at 18, fresh out of high school, you're not thinking about these things. You're not planning on buying a house anytime soon. I'm not, and I'm already 24. And maybe if I had known these things earlier, I would be planning these things, but I'm not, because I kind of fucked up my credit really bad, and I do not want y'all to do that. Your credit report is actually very important. Some jobs do check your credit score before hiring you, because that means you're not dependable if it's low, and things like that. If you're working for finances, or if you're managing a company's money, or if you have access to their money and your credit score is low, it's pretty likely that they'll take that into serious consideration in your hiring process. Okay, so you want to have a good credit score. The way to build credit is, I would suggest to open a credit card as soon as you can, but make sure the limit is around something you can definitely afford. I would suggest 500 or less. So start really small, and it's so easy. It's crazy how easy it is to open a credit card. You want to find one of those that advertises for zero interest for 15 months, and there's plenty of them. So try to find one for 15. How many months are in a year? Yeah, so there's 12 months in the year. Some of them offer for 12 months, but I would suggest 15 months, as long as you possibly can go without paying interest, because interest rates are crazy. You want to find the lowest interest rate, of course, but still, okay, it's hard because some of them will offer you this great introductory price, 15 months, no interest, and then after that it's 24% or something, which is really crazy, but it does happen. And then there's other ones that you start them and it stays consistent at 13%, as long as your credit doesn't fall low. And that's the bad thing. Sometimes when your credit score is bad, they'll look into that and then they'll see you as unreliable, and from there they'll increase your interest rate. It's really crazy, and they half the time I don't think they even tell you. I'm not sure about the legality of that, but sometimes they don't tell you. So anyway, yeah, I would suggest to do that, and make sure you do not spend more than you can afford to pay like that. So say I have $50 and I want to buy things worth $70. Don't do that. Don't be oh, it's just $20. No, that's what's gonna fuck you up, okay? It will screw you over. And what screwed me over is that so many things, you guys. There's just so many things. initially what screwed me over was I got a credit card when I was like starting to struggle. So I got it kind of as a cushion because I thought, hey, you know, I'll pay it off later. That's the worst mentality you can possibly have because I still have that debt, and that was like 4 years ago. And that's the thing, even though I have paid off definitely what I had spent on that card, the interest is what's like what has built up. The interest probably is double of what I had originally owed. It's really crazy. By now, you know, over time, it keeps growing if you keep making minimum payments. And that leads me to the next thing. You want to pay off more than your minimum payment. So if you decide to accumulate debt, or if you get in a situation where you basically have to accumulate debt, what I would suggest is every time that, you know, every month or whatever, make sure you pay more than your minimum payment. Because otherwise you're gonna pay, you know, your minimum payment of like $30 or whatever, and then you're gonna be like, oh, I still have money left over, I can go spend this cash. Wrong, okay, wrong. You don't have that money. You owe it. So just get rid of that debt. Done. You never want to miss a payment, okay? Ever. If you miss a payment, late payments, it's bad, but it's not terrible. If you make a late payment, there will be a fee, and almost every single card allows at least one reversal of a late fee, okay? So just call them and be like, hey, I missed the deadline. Is there anything you can do about this fee? And like 80% of the time, they will reverse it. Some of them, I guess, might even do multiple fees, but I don't know. So how another tip for building credit. So when you're paying your credit card or whatever, if you want to trick the system into thinking that you're making 2 payments, you can do this, and that's gonna bump up your credit score. So say you owe let's say your minimum payment is $50 for a credit card, and it's due, what's it due? On the 31st of the month, on the last day of the month, okay? I don't know about February, but so on the last day of the month. So what you want to do to trick the system is pay half of that on the 1st of the month, and then the other half on the 15th. And then the system is going to think you're making 2 payments when you're really just making 1. And I know there's other tips like that. If you know any, please like drop them down below in the comments, because that would be very helpful for everybody, I'm sure. Let's see, school loans. If you can do anything to avoid getting school loans, I would suggest you do that. If you have to take off a year from school, if you really want to go to school and you have to take off a year from school to save money, I would suggest you do that. I wish I would have done that. When you take breaks off of school, I would suggest you work. Like work your ass off and save that money for school, because school is very expensive and student loans are extremely expensive. I have luckily, like, I had like this whole stupid situation where I was being charged out-of-state tuition instead of in-state, and it wasn't my fault. So like I was supposed to be being charged in-state. So anyway, so I ended up owing a lot of money, and I had to get a loan. So now I have to pay that back. But if it weren't for that, I would be absolutely loan free. So the following semester, in the fall, like if I can pay off that it's a pretty small loan. Pretty small. It's big to me. It's $2,700, which is a ton of money, but in comparison to like everybody else's student loans, it's nothing. So apart from that one, I would be debt free as far as school goes. It's been a long journey, y'all. Just make sure you like apply to all these scholarships. There's a lot of help out there. Just look for it, you know. So go to your school and ask, find out. That's all it is, like finding out all this shit. So anyway, so if you can avoid, just avoid debt in general, okay? Because debt is evil. It's evil, it's evil, it's evil. You do need credit in order to succeed in life. Also, let's start talking about having an emergency fund, okay? Because that is something I also don't really have. Oh my lord, like there's just so much. Okay, so let's cut this down into very basic, important aspects of financial literacy. Okay, so number one, I would say budget. We're gonna go over that momentarily. Number two, stay out of debt. Number three, build credit slowly, and by slowly I mean in small amounts. And number four, oh, was there a number four? Oh yeah. Number four, save money. So make sure you have an emergency fund. Try to like store away. What I used to do is every time I got a good sum of money, I would get cash and roll up. It sounds real crazy, but I would roll up like $20 bills and stuff them around in like random places, like in my purses that I don't use, in jackets. And that would really help me so much, because later on, months later, when I would be like, oh my god, I'm so broke, I can't afford this or that, I would like pull out a jacket, an old, jacket, and suddenly I have $20, like that would be really great. And sometimes, like, I have really bad memory, so I would forget where I put them, but sometimes I would remember, so I would completely avoid that money unless I was desperate. So basically that's one thing that I would do. If I hadn't accumulated all the debt that I already have, I would definitely be saving money and have like an emergency fund, like there's a lot of different options. If you're a student, you can open free like checking accounts a lot of the time. I have PNC, and I know Fifth Third Bank also does that for students and the elderly. So yeah, that's all you have to do. You have to tell them that you're a student. Sometimes they might require your ID, but because otherwise they do charge like $7 or different amounts per account or whatever. It's also a very good idea to like invest in a like 401k if you can. That's like for retirement, but I personally think that it's better to invest in something that you can take money out of in any emergency, not just when you're old, So I think just storing it away is the best idea. So now the most important part, okay? Budgeting. This is the creme de la creme, okay? Like this is it. This is the meat of the burger. If you're vegan, this is the veggie patty of the burger. So, okay, this is how to budget. Take your expenses. Count every single one of your expenses for a month. This is what I do. Take all of your bills, write them down on a list, add them together. For example, for like rent, if you have a fixed rent, make sure that's on there. But all other expenses like electricity and stuff, look at your past ones. And also, like if you just moved into a place or you plan on moving to a place, call the electricity company or the water company, whatever, utility company. Call them and ask them if you can see like a graph of the average usage for like previous years, and they'll do that. So you can take that and figure out about roughly how much, probably like the average amount. I usually go with the highest because you always want to have some wiggle room. So you want to take the highest amount and like add all of your expenses, gasoline, snacks, food. Figure out like look at how much you eat, like fast food or whatever, or how much you spend in groceries for like a week, and look at that and multiply it by 4 to equal a month. Anything else, anything. And you also want to add like, if you want to save up for travel or whatever, make sure you put that there. If you want to store some money away for something else, put that there. And also if you want to just have like spending money, make sure you put that there and roughly estimate how much you're going to use in a month. Okay, so take all of those expenses, add them together, and take all of your income. If you get money from your parents, if you're renting a property, which is not very likely if you're watching this video, but I mean it's possible. yeah, take whatever money you get from that. If your grandparents gave you money, if you've got a side job, if you've got a full-time job and then another side job, whatever. Okay, so if you babysit every now and then, you know, take all that, add it all together, and then make sure that it balances out. Make sure that you have money left over. Make sure you're not like, I mean, it's impossible, but try to make sure you're not living paycheck to paycheck. And if you are, you have to find some way to squeeze out any sort of savings. So like you want your expenses to be as low as possible. And if that means you can't go out to eat, you know, twice a week, I'm sorry, but that's what you're gonna have to do. That's really what I've been doing. I haven't gone out to eat in months. I'll make another video of how to save money because I feel like I've been, and by save money, I mean like how to reduce your expenses, how to live very cheaply. So I've been doing that for a long time. So I feel like I have pretty good expertise in that. So anyway, I'll make that video later. But I hope all of these things helped. Just remember, don't get in debt and learn how to budget. Okay, I'm done now. Bye.